So I'm going to be talking about the books I read in September. I've been in a really bad book slump since August. I don't know how to get out of it, just pushing through. But I did get through 6 books. So I'm excited to talk to you about those. The first book that I read this month was The Resolutions by Mia Garcia. This is an arc. It's not pubbing until November, but it was very good. It was very fun. I think it definitely helped get me to a point where I was excited again about YA. This story follows 4 best friends, Jess, Lee, Ryan, and Nora. And on New Year's, they come up with an idea to make resolutions for one another. And the story follows New Year's to their senior year. Really see how these resolutions have affected them and the decisions they make moving forward. I thought this was very good. Each character are very, very different than one another, and it's alternating perspectives. So I feel like everyone will be able to relate to one of the characters. The entire time I'm reading it, I'm trying to figure out who is who, and obviously Ryan is, it's very easy to figure out who's Ryan. But I think anytime there's covers with faces on it, I always do that. So, first book down. It took me a little while to get into it, but I think it's from a residual book slump, and you can see like how tattered this whole thing was. I brought it with me on vacation. So I dog ear pages of quotes that I really like, and I know some people don't like. Dog tagging is a very touchy subject in the reading community, but I dog tag pages where I like the quotes, but I don't highlight or underline, so there's no sense to this method. It just happens. Oh, okay. So this is talking about heartbreak, and I really loved the quote. And it's, I don't know, should I read it? I'm gonna. So it's one character's mother talking to the character, but I'm not gonna tell you who, but you'll figure it out as soon as you read it. Heartbreak will do that to you. And I know it feels like you think there's nothing but an empty hole in there, but I promise you, you will mend. I want you to remember what I'm saying because it will not mean much right now, but eventually you'll know. Relationships, love, they are extensions of you. They are not all of you. You do not cease to be when they are over. Such a good truth! Then, the next book I read was If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. This was sitting on my shelf for quite some time, and I can't believe it took me this long to pick it up. It was incredible. Everyone needs to read this. She moves in with her father because of severe bullying that was happening at her old school where her mother lives. And Amanda has just finished transitioning from Andrew. And this was the first book I ever read that talked of a transgender character. And it was incredibly enlightening, and it gave me an insight to something I don't know anything about. This book was incredibly enlightening. I think it's super powerful. I'm so happy I read it, and I think there needs to be more books like this in the YA community, which is a given. But this was a really good. I really recommend to everyone reading this. It's not that long. It's actually shorter than it seems. Yeah, it's under 300. Really incredible. I'm so happy I read this one. The next 2 I'm putting together because it is the same author, and I have been on the hunt for these books for so long. Sarah White. Holy poop. She might be one of my new favorite YA authors. So she started on Wattpad. So there's a bunch of things you can read on her Wattpad. I have not gotten a chance to do that yet, but obviously you know I'm going to. So I actually read Let Me List the Ways First. I read this in a day, and I don't say that lightly, because reading books in one day and to just sit there and read for a whole day, I'm proud of that accomplishment. So Let Me List the Ways is childhood best friends to lovers stories, which is a cliche that I love. I love it. The story follows Mackenzie Clark and Nolan Walker and their childhood best friends. Mackenzie has type 1 diabetes, so Nolan really takes care of her all the time. I don't want to say too much about it. It's so good. It's cute, and it's kind of everything you expect it to be as a best friends to lovers story. So I highly, highly, highly recommend this one. It was so much fun reading. So good. Our Broken Pieces is the first novel that Sarah White came out with. I actually read this one second, so I did it backwards. So this story follows Everly and Gabe, and mental health is a huge part of this book. The two characters meet in therapy, even though they have been in school together their whole life, or at least majority of their life. And it just really talks about overcoming hardships when you're younger. And it just really talks about how to get through hard times. And therapy plays such an important role in this story, and I am a big advocate of taking care of your mental health. So this is another one. This is a bit sexier than this one, but they're so good. Please read them. I rent them from the library, but you know they're in my Amazon shopping cart because I want them on my shelves. So incredible. Honestly, read Sarah White. I can't speak enough. The next book I read, I'm so excited for. Are you ready? The Raven Boys. I have had this book on my TBR since Christmas, last Christmas. I've been putting it off and putting it off because I knew if I started a series, I would love it. And I do love it. And I'm so glad I read it. So, The Raven Boys follows 4 boys and 1 girl. And I don't even know how to begin. I truly don't know how to begin explaining this. And this is partially why series intimidate me. Also because of the time commitment it takes, but also because explaining them to people just get me very, oh, it's hard. This is such a good fall read. I didn't even read it thinking that it would fit in with fall, Halloween-esque. Super dark, but super, super captivating. And the writing, unpopular opinion, I hated the Shiver series. Is that the name of the series? I did not like Shiver. I remember I read it when I was a freshman in high school, and I hated it. I think because it just followed the Twilight rush, and I was hardcore into Twilight. Team Edward, forever, forever. I hated the Shiver, and it wasn't until I was about halfway through this that I realized that it's the same author. I'm also not saying her name because I don't know how to pronounce her last name, and I'm not gonna butcher it. Anyway, super incredible, super good writing. I can't wait to buy the second one. The final book that I read, it is not YA. I've been reading this for 2 years. 2 long years, but it's not until recent that I really focused on getting through it. And that is Crazy Love by Frances Chan. This is a book on Jesus. So this is the first Christian book I've actually read through. And it's super convicting. But any Christian will tell you, you need to be convicted in order to grow. So I, like, beat up this book. I don't know, can you see it? That's why it took me a long time to get through it, because I really wanted to absorb what I was reading. I'm very happy I did read it. It takes me longer to read Christian books because I'm not just reading it to read it, I'm really reading it to absorb it and to comprehend it. And I think the moment I understood I'm not gonna absorb every single thing I read, it's very freeing because I was able to read it without guilting myself for not remembering every little detail, every little line. But I constantly underlined, I constantly highlighted, I constantly wrote in the margins because I want to remember as much as I can about this. And I think that's personally how it goes with a lot of Christian books. I'm not going to remember every single line, every single insightful thing, but if I can take away the overarching message, then that's good. So this is a really good book. I was recommended this by one of my best friends. Frances Chan's incredible. He's a pastor from San Francisco, I believe. Okay, I don't know. Don't call me. California, though, for sure. He's awesome. Not an easy book to read, but very important. All right, guys. This is it. My stack in all its glory. I think it's a pretty good one. Thank you for joining me for my very first video. This is super exciting and super nerve-wracking to me to do this and to put a face to my Instagram page that I do try to keep more or less anonymous, but this is something I'm super excited about, and I hope you are too. So if you would like to see more, subscribe, like, comment. All right, Kristen Between the Pages out.